you're a defense contractor already spending money or thinking about spending money on CMMC, this session is made specifically for you. Welcome back. My name is Greg Tomczyk, CEO here at Valor Cybersecurity, and I have a couple stories for you today. Early on in my career, I was so focused on the controls, the technicalities, the tools, and as I started to have deeper conversations in the defense community, I saw the need to make cybersecurity of business value. I think every industry needs it, but at such a critical time, the defense community needed it most. So we had to get creative. We had to find ways to help them see and help them have that mindset shift to actually see the business value on the other end. And we took that as a challenge. It wasn't an easy challenge, but a lot of people see cybersecurity and compliance as one and the same. They just see it as a cost of doing business, which, for a lot of companies it is. For 90 to 95% of companies, they just spend money on it, and that's where it stops. They don't take the extra step forward to reap the business value. But recently we've been able to help two specific companies that I'm going to talk about today and tell their story. It's really going to help you see clearly how you can connect that dollar spent on cybersecurity and CMMC to the business value on the other end and how you can leverage it to help grow your business. And obviously we are focused on the tools and the controls and the requirements and the more in-depth aspects that our clients hire us to address. We see a lot of people just going out and getting an IT managed service company, a MSSP, which is managed security service provider. And what we find is that most of our customers, clients, partners, they come to us after they've already spent the money on the IT MSP and then the MSSP. They have all of these great tools. They realize they're not fully ready and they spent all of this money, sometimes six figures. 2 weeks ago, we talked about a client who came to us after spending $300,000 on CMMC and they still weren't ready. For a lot of folks, and we challenge the status quo. This is a competitive advantage, and that's what we're gonna really talk about today. We see a warm blanket being wrapped around companies that are going out and spending money, but it's not the whole equation. I want everybody to see that. And after you actually spend this money, you have to find a way to earn it back. That's business. Hopefully these two stories that we talk about today really give you that mindset shift. So a lot of companies are having a lot of progress when they spend dollars on cybersecurity. They're getting their system security plan. Majority of the way work through, they have a plan of action and milestones. So in the first situation, we had a client come to us who was expanding into the US. So this is a foreign-owned defense contractor. But when I think about other markets, the UK, the EU, Australia, and other markets that we play in with some of our allies from a defense standpoint, cybersecurity measures, and from the first step of seeing the opportunity, this language was actually in the packet. So they were recommended over to us because this is one of our areas of niche pricing, and obviously there's hourly rates and things of that nature and rate cards and all of the other technicalities that we'll leave to the accounting folks. And what we encouraged them to do was to ask their contracting folks, how urgent is CMMC to be implemented? And because of the sensitivity of this customer, they were able to make that a part of their cost plus equation. And they basically put in there a specific budget that we helped them identify that it was going to cost to get them up to level 2 CMMC. And we left a little bit of cushion in there, but the government respected that they did the groundwork to estimate how much it was going to spend or how much it was going to cost and how much they were going to spend specific to their business environment, because we built out the scope, the system security plan, where their gaps were. How are you going to help our finance team find a way to bargain for us to make sure that we aren't just spending $50,000, $100,000? Those are all still true and remain true, but going to resonate much more with the business folks. And that's ultimately what we pride ourselves on. It's obviously getting in the technical and fine print weeds of CMMC and defense compliance and making sure all of those boxes and objectives are reached. The next story is a company that actually earned it back in less time. They earned it back in, it was about 19 to 20 days later. They waited till about 2022, 2023 to start executing from the IT side. They had an internal family member that was helping with setup of computers and things of that nature, but he had reached his capacity when it came to actually securing systems. But once they had that budget and started to spend money, that's when we started to turn the clock on and say, how quickly from that mindset shift of them seeing it as business value and starting to allocate company resources. We basically put that letter down on the table within the first couple of days. I think it was the end of the first week, because they had engaged the IT MSP. They had a plan of how to ramp them up within a short period of time, because they had a lot of the IT templates and things that they could push to their environment. And it was such an incredible result that we were so proud of, because there was a lot of doubt at the beginning. They basically said everybody in our network, spends money on cybersecurity but never sees a return. And we always take that as a big challenge for us, because that's what we're so focused on. We've helped multiple companies to see that light. Not everybody reaps the benefits in those time frames. Is first and foremost, let's take a step back before we get into the technical, legal weeds, and find a way to, as we're going through this process, and they're spending dollars on these requirements, to make them see the business value and actually reap those benefits. And the government values companies who are doing this. A lot of times it's hard for leadership to see that. So I want to encourage everybody just to have that mindset shift. It is possible to go from cybersecurity as a cost center to cybersecurity as a revenue generator and a business advantage. And they end up spending money on, some type of system of record, a compliance management solution. And I think that's what a lot of people are ultimately missing. And that's why I wanted to put on today's session, is to kind of help you connect the dots there. But here are the things we don't do. A lot of times on sales call or a demo, a lot of folks don't even mention what they don't do. They're just mentioning all the features and things that they do. And when we sit on these vendor calls, we're thinking about all 320 objectives, 110 controls. And we often ask, what do you guys not do? What controls do you not address? A lot of times people ask us that as a company, and we know what we don't do. We don't do any of the tools. We provide the blueprint, the guidance, the documentation, proving that you're doing all of these great things. But we don't provide the tools, and that's why these other providers are necessary. So try to get away from that warm blanket. Try to see a way to see the light. The warm blanket's great once you're already compliant and already ready and have a system in place across the board. That's when you get the warm blanket. Don't get the warm blanket by somebody over-promising, and then when you get to the audit, you might realize that they're under-delivering from that standpoint. You have to kind of think about the whole life cycle from, does it address the actual requirement? Can you get the evidence to prove that you're actually implementing that tool correctly? And then have you documented it as well to prove why you're doing that? That is missing from a lot of companies. They might have a system security plan and a plan of action and milestones to show the gaps, because that's how we think as a company is, how do we use all the great things we're doing from a security perspective, use all the expertise we have to have a bigger impact on companies that are operating in sensitive environments. These requirements are a cost you're incurring, and then there may be some things, plus some of the revenue. So those are two stories that I found fascinating. I really wanted to share those with you, because we oftentimes don't get people talking about these creative strategies. But if nobody tells you about it, until you pay the invoice, it leaves you behind the curve on what strategies you can start to think about internally, and how you can actually turn this into business value without using a partner. And we've seen many companies do it. They come to us and say, hey, can you help us increase our strategy, or use some of the creative angles that you've done to help us increase the business value we're already getting from investing in cybersecurity. But if and when you get there, there's going to be ways you can leverage that as a competitive advantage, whether that's you as a sub to primes, you as a prime contractor to the subs that you work with. You can kind of set a standard for the contracts and the subcontractors you're working with, and help them get up to speed as well, which helps you as a team, as a partnership, really elevate how you guys are doing business to win that next contract or win that renewal at a higher dollar value. Please ask questions, put them in the chat, direct message me, tell me your situation, tell me what you're thinking about doing for the business value that you're going to use in your specific angle of defense in order to gain that business value. And I think that's going to be so important for your business. I think it's going to help elevate your business to the next level. We've seen it time and time again. These two clients are just two clients that we've had recently that have gained their investment back. And when we're able to do that, to say, we're going to charge you X, but we can Not guarantee, because we're not going to put a stamp on anything. That's not how we do business. Once we prove it to them, that is a huge win for everybody involved, including the government. So it's that win-win-win that we like to see, where the client's winning, they're getting their money back, plus growing their business, winning more contracts. A win for us because we're able to use our specific expertise in order to help both national security and the government, but also this contractor thrive in the market that they're in. And that's really that triple win that we try to strike each and every day as we do business. We really see this as the biggest cybersecurity initiative in really the history of the world right now. Obviously, the history of the U.S. We see a lot of other countries, the EU, the UK, Australia, Dubai. They're starting to really have a lot of buzz around these defense standards. The U.S. is leading the way in setting really the standard at the end of the day with CMMC. And a lot of other countries, Canada, we're seeing them lean into it as well. So there's a lot of dark holes. There's a lot of bigger walls and obstacles companies are facing, and we just try to translate that each and every week through these live trainings to tell stories, to help you connect to the right mindsets that are going to help you better advocate and create business value. We're here to support you, whether it's taking our free assessment and getting some recommendations. It is joining our email list to get updates on CMMC. Follow us on LinkedIn, follow our YouTube channel. We're going to continue to put this out to put you in the best possible position to turn cybersecurity into business value. That's our mission. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful Thursday ahead. Until next time, my name is Greg Tomczyk. Stay safe and stay secure.